Hello, Deirdre. Thanks very much for inviting me along today to speak about what I do and the area I specialise in. So, I'm an optician and I've been specialising in the area of visual stress or issues with visual processing for the last 17 years. So, the best way I can describe what I do is I look at how our brain sees information. So when you go to your local optician and you have your eyes tested, they check the health of the eye, your ocular health, and they check to see your visual acuity, how well are our eyes seeing. But there's a lot more happens when we look at something. So the eyes take a picture, goes along the visual pathway, and the brain interprets this. We call this processing of visual information. And for some people, processing of certain types of visual information can become much more difficult. It's like you have a sensitivity in the brain. Some of those people have difficulties with processing information like reading text, numbers, and particularly on white screens, white backgrounds, pages. I see a lot of other people who would be migraine sufferers. So we know, and it's been well documented, that I think it's 80% of migraineurs suffer from severe to moderate light sensitivity. So there was research carried out a few years ago, and what they found was that everybody's brain reacts positively and negatively to different parts of the light spectrum. So if you take a look here, I don't know if you can see it here, Deirdre. Can you see this image here of this essentially is white light. And the white light is made up of the visible spectrum. So it's all the different colors or all the different wavelengths within white light. And what they discovered years ago was that everybody's brain reacts positively and negatively to different parts. So for example, your brain will like certain parts or wavelengths within white light and it will be more sensitive to other parts. So what we discovered was if you have an issue or a sensitivity to processing particular types of visual information, if we find or if we investigate which part of white light your brain doesn't like, and we filter that out only, just that part, very often we can calm down the brain and help the brain to process information a bit more efficiently and a bit more comfortably. So how do we do this? So Professor Arnold Wilkins designed this piece of equipment called the colorimeter. And basically what that does is it checks to see which part of white light your brain favors and which part of white light or parts of white light that your brain is most sensitive to. And what we do then is we filter out the light and we see what exactly is your reaction. So as I said to you, there has been lots of research carried out over the last few years, and the brain is the most powerful thing. We know that in situations where, for example, the brain doesn't like processing of information such as text or numbers or print, the brain is very clever. The brain will look at it. So the eyes take a picture, sends the image along the visual pathway, then the brain will interpret it. If the brain doesn't like it, or if it's sensitive to it, the brain will shout at the eyes, "Oi, come on, move it, change it, rearrange it." So very often somebody will have perfect visual acuity. Their eyes will be able to see very clearly. But they'll say, "I have this feeling," or "I get this sensation," where words move, change, swirl, or, the other thing it can be, this happens particularly with migraine sufferers, is when they go into a situation, for example, like shopping centres, the lights, they tend to feel slightly nauseous, and they'll say to you, "Oh, I just feel like putting on sunglasses." They might feel disorientated. They'll feel it's just too bright. So I suppose if we compare, for example, a pair of ordinary sunglasses, even good quality sunglasses, to a pair of colour filters, how do they differ? Sunglasses will block out the amount of light that's coming into the eye. And I think everybody in the world benefits from wearing a pair of sunglasses in bright light. The difference with colour filters is that because we're only filtering out the part of white light that your brain is most sensitive to, It means that the lens is lighter, first of all, but also it's allowing the right type of light in. So very often you will end up with a colored lens, and they're not necessarily very dark. They're a colored lens which can be worn indoors or in situations, for example, like schools, offices, shops. You know, I suppose all our environments is getting brighter in the last number of years. Even the new modern car lights, I think, are really harsh. So from particularly actually with migraine sufferers, I find that the patients will describe the most difficulty with artificial light rather than sunlight. And I suppose the color filters are very, very suited to wearing in artificial light conditions. As I said to you, shops, schools, offices, hospitals, you know, things are getting brighter. Um, so what do you do if you want to see, does color filtering work for you? The first thing is, as I said to you, so keep up with your standard eye tests. Attend your local optician or whoever tests your eyes and have a standard eye test carried out to make sure your visual acuity is corrected, or you know that it's okay. The second thing to do, obviously, is that they'll check your ocular health to make sure that the health of the eye is good. And once you have all that done, you can book in for what we call a visual stress assessment. So that takes approximately an hour and 15 minutes. I can't say it's very pleasant for the migraine sufferer because, yes, we do bring you through a series of visual stress patterns. But that's just one part of it. What they do, I suppose, is they challenge the brain, okay? And we'll see what exactly happens when your brain goes to process visually challenging information. So some of these could be texts, lots of very closely packed text, dense text. It could be patterns, stripes. Lots of us love the black and white stripes, particularly when they're moving. And then we see what exactly is the brain getting the eyes to do. And through the assessment then, as I said, we check to see which part of white light your brain prefers and which part it's most sensitive to. And at the end of the assessment, I suppose you're filtering out the light. The amazing thing, I suppose, about assessing migraine patients is that you'll nearly see it in their body language. Of course, color filtering doesn't work for everybody, but when you put up the color filters, I see this day in and day out. You put up the color filters in front of the migraine patient, and within a few seconds, you see their whole body language change if the color filters work. You see them relax, or you'll get the sigh of, that's much better. They'll describe it as being calmer. And very often they'll also say, things look brighter. And if you think about that, that's really funny because you're giving them a dark lens, or a tinted lens to look through. And I suppose that's quite simply how it does work. I think it's a wonderful, practical and simple tool, okay, for anybody that does suffer from light sensitivity or extreme photophobia. It's something that you would put on when you need. You certainly don't have to wear it all the time. You certainly wouldn't be wearing it at night. And if you are somebody that wears glasses anyway, they can be made in both prescription and non-prescription. So